Hey folks, welcome to our run of Thirsty Sword Lesbians by April Kit Walsh. As part of the Gauntlet Reading Club, we'll be using Hannah Templar's CosmoKnights to inspire the fiction, but much of the disaster we have before us right now is entirely on the group of players we have here. Before we jump into things, I wanted to do a quick round of introductions for anyone watching. I'm Steven, he, him. I am GMing this run of Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I am also facilitating the club right now.
My name is Claire. I am playing a character named Freckle. Both me and the character pronouns she, her. Freckle is a clone slash body double slash handmaiden of Princess Lorelei, who went rogue for a time, but most recently, after we picked up Princess Lorelei onto the Kestrel, now seems like she might be on the verge of being brought back into the fold as a loyal servant once again, and may end up turning on the rest of the party, question mark. We will see how this goes.
So I'm Lyra, pronouns are she, her, or they, them, and I'm playing Kay, pronouns she, her. Kay is also known, although not to other people in the party generally, as Princess Kira, and she is an escaped princess and a reskinned nature witch who communes with minor AIs and gives them automaton bodies and just kind of really likes hanging out with computers.
Hi, I'm David and I am playing Trace Soto. Trace Soto is in the Bloody Playbook. He is a veteran of the jousts. We saw him last time decrypting the hard drive that he had somewhat unsubtly stolen from Lord Rudolph, and came to the defense of the ship when it was boarded by AI-controlled battlesuits.
My name's Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing 5014, pronounced Sola, who was an onboard AI for a combat suit in the jousts, and due to some sort of shock baton or shock attack that rendered the pilot of the suit unconscious, there was an electrical glitch, and I gained sentience and was able to pilot the suit on behalf of my pilot to victory.
This game is hosted through the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is an online gaming community mostly focused on role-playing games of the indie and OSR varieties. Besides publishing a zine called The Codex, it also puts out several podcasts about role-playing games. And of course, it organizes a gaming calendar, which this and many other games are organized through every month. The calendar is open to non-members, so feel free to jump on over there through the link below if you're interested in playing with any of the folks here tonight or any of the other people on the Gauntlet. We'll be making use of the safety tools known as Script Change, the X card, and Lines and Veils. We'll also be making use of the Gauntlet's open door policy. If for any reason you need to step away, feel free. Maybe let us know if you can come back, but that is not necessary. Real life issues and your own safety take priority over taking part in the game. With all that taken care of, I think that I wanted to jump into play here. So, the last time we had seen Kay, you had just told off Lorelei, but we hadn't gotten a chance to see you until now. And I think probably we flash over to Kay in the engine room. Two of your little friends here on the ship is helping you out in the engine room as this is going on.
I think it's less helping me out with the engines, more kind of I'm picking up one of my automata. Terrible at thinking of names, but give me a second, I'll think of a name. And but this one is a kind of lemur-like creature, and it kind of like clings onto my shoulder, and it's very soft, and I'm kind of using it to kind of calm myself down, because that altercation with Lorelei kind of brought me back to all the things I kind of tried so hard to get away from, and kind of the the whole kind of sense of entitlement, just being a kind of terrible person that I was just running from. That's kind of, and I think that I used these automata to kind of escape from that while I was a kid. So it's a little bit of a kind of going back to that sort of escape. So I think kind of the vibe you get is Kay is angrily fixing things while trying to calm down.
Yeah, so I think that as you are kind of angrily fixing things, you hear Amor's voice say, well, the conversation with the princess didn't go well, I take it. And I think this time as Amor comes in, and I haven't really brought it up before, but Amor does use alternating she, him pronouns. He is, you don't know where he's gone the change of clothes, but he has changed into like a kind of magenta tuxedo suit and has his hair swept over to the side. I find it's difficult getting on with a certain sort of royal.
Only a certain sort?
You could say I've had encounters before.
I think I'm matching my words with the kind of cadence of kind of wailing on a wrench at this point. I just can't stand the entitlement.
Amor leans in and glances at the wrench, speaking from experience.
I think I almost... It's not quite a blush, but it's the beginning of ones. I realise I've kind of revealed a little too much here, and I go, well, kind of when you tag along with a CosmoKnight, you get to meet certain people.
And he leans closer and, well, I think there's a certain charm to royalty, but I prefer a lady willing to get her hands dirty a little bit more. And I think that this is the moment where he leans in a little bit further, and that's when the explosion happens. And I think as you come to, the room is smoky. You can see that there's damage to the engines, and Amor is kind of standing back up groggily with a gash along his brow. And you can see that the engine, when you look at it, is clearly damaged, but when you look at it closer, that there are little veins of what look a bit like the nanites that you know Sola is made up of.
I think that the first thing I do is go and make sure that Amor is okay. Doing kind of basic sort of kind of like how many fingers am I holding up, and kind of like checking pupils are equal size and all that.
Yeah, give me a roll here.
That is an 8.
Amor kind of takes the hand that you're holding up with the fingers and says, I'm all right. It's only a surface wound, as he kind of lifts his hand to kind of prod at the cut in his brow. But your attention is appreciated. And he kind of cocks a little grin at you.
Then I think you probably see a full-blown blush from Kay at this point. And
yeah, and I think you can take a string on Amor.
I almost shake my head to kind of clear it at this point and go back to looking at the damaged engine and kind of talking to myself, almost go, that's weird. Why are these veins here? And I grab a little kind of vial from one of the many pockets of my coveralls, and I try and kind of scrape a little bit of this into this vial. I don't know how that goes, given that we're dealing with nanotechnology here.
Yeah, I'm curious. This is something I will ask you. Do you think that you are trying to awaken the wilds here?
Ooh. Yeah, I would say that is in this context. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, give me a roll with soul.
That's an 8, even with the +2.
Yeah, so you get to choose one, but the GM will offer you a hard choice or success at a cost. So what are you choosing first off? And then I'll figure out what the choice here is.
I think of the first one, you cleanse it of corruption. I think that these, unless these nanites look like they're obviously fixing the thing, I'm going to assume that they were responsible for the malfunction. So I'm going to try and get these nanites out of here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and how do you try to get them out of here?
I think that it's quite brute force. I think that I think that it's literally I kind of jump for a few cables across between connections and kind of setting up to kind of discharge some capacitor banks through some coils somewhere in the engine to just kind of like create a small localized electromagnetic pulse, and I'm just kind of I feel like can I step back a second here actually, because I feel like before I did that, I feel like that would be the kind of the step that I would take, but I think the first thing I'd do is try and contact Solar on the comm. Because, like, nanites, I'd be thinking of Solar here, and I don't know anything that's happened or hasn't happened to Solar, so I think I'd kind of, like, while I was setting this up, I'd be trying to contact Solar.
So Sola, do you think Kay gets through to you or your drone?
I think it's got to be the drone at this point. I think I'm already off the ship, and that whole thing happened while Kay was kind of, out.
Cool.
Or making eyes at Amor, or both.
Yeah. So if you would like to take up the drone and play them, feel free, Puckett.
So if you're trying to get the drone, basically what you get is a lot of singing. I mean, do you have a specific question for the drone?
First of all, like, do I know that it's the drone, or do I still think it's Solar at this point?
You've been down in the engine compartment, so you probably think it's Sola. So it's going to be really, really weird for you.
So I think I pause a moment and go, like, I presume you're aware, Solar, that singing is only an appropriate thing to do when there aren't other pressing tasks on. I have a question for you.
The drone switches over to sing "Walk Like an Egyptian."
And I think I kind of lose patience a little bit and just go like, Solar, cut it out. Like this, I'm serious now.
And the hollow drone switches to singing Styx's Mr. Roboto.
And I think at this point I just kind of like close the comm and shake my head and kind of like made a mental note to deal with that later and kind of go back to I kind of muttered to myself, well, if these are solars, it's just going to have to do without them. And then on the do without them, I energize the local EMP to kind of shut down these nanites that are swarming in the engine.
Yeah, and I think that, Kay, you'll be able to do this, but you're going to draw Arachne's attention to you specifically.
I think it's more fun that Kay, because I don't think that Kay would knowingly do that, but I think Kay at this point just doesn't consider it. I think if Kay stopped to think, Kay could realize this, but I think like in the moment, Kay just flips the switch.
Yeah, and I think that for a moment, as you're powering it up, like I think that sample you took and put in the vial vibrates on your belt, and you get a glimpse of standing in a room, and there is a woman in a black dress with a distaff and spinning wheel, kind of like you get this sense that it is code flowing through the wheel. And she looks at you and says, "You should not be here." And then you're back, and the EMP blast radiates out, clearing this engine. And Arachne gets a string on you. But I think you can also mark "go somewhere no person has tread before," which I'm going to say is human. Here is I'm going to interpret it widely, which is inside Arachne's mind. And I think that we will fade out there and fade back in up on the deck. Is Kay coming up to the main deck of the ship now that the thing in the engine room is sort of fixed? It's fixed-ish for now.
Yeah, I think I'm coming up to see kind of how everyone is and what is going on with Solar. Like I'm kind of I'm just checking out the situation.
Yeah, and first off, if Sola, could you give us the description again of what your hologram looks like, just as a reminder of what your hologram drone looks like?
Like Sola, but sparkly and shiny and pretty much a disco light show going on. Not subtle at all, like even less subtle than Sola.
I think I still haven't realized that it's not Solar. I think I might do when I look more closely, but like I'm like, oh, is now really the best time to be trying out a new look?
At which point the holodrone switches over to singing Dancing Queen and affects and basically manages to emit something like a mirror ball reflective pattern on the wall and the interior walls of the ship.
So I think that's the point where I kind of like either is there a visible indication that that you're not Solar, that you're a holodrone?
I think what you'd notice is that if you actually touch the holodrone, it does not feel any way like Sola. Like it is where Sola has tried to affect almost like a more flesh-like feel to the nanite covering of itself. The holodrone is just, you touch it and you can almost hear it go bonk if there was anything behind it. But it's like if you tap it, there's just no sound. But it's obviously not Sola to your touch.
Yeah, I think I do reach out and kind of just kind of try and see, because I have my suspicions at this point. So I reach out and I kind of pull my hand back in surprise and go like, nope, not Solar. And then I just shout out, Trace, what the hell has happened to Solar?
And how do we find Trace?
Yeah, I think Trace is probably fiddling about with various important switches in the cockpit, trying to get the ship ready to move again, and just calls out, "Solar's been taken by evil Solars. There's a space station. We've just got Solar's karaoke double. We've got to go and break into a space station full of AIs and rescue them."
Oh, not good. Not good at all. And then I kind of, you see me kind of floundering for a moment, and then it kind of like almost visibly kind of snap back into engineering mode as kind of like the only way I can make sense of this, and just be like, okay, what do you need?
We need to get the ship flight ready again. I think we've got the coordinates, or close enough.
So is Freckle anywhere around here?
I was there when Solo was leaving and tried to talk them out of leaving, but I was there fighting off the robots to the best of my ability.
Because I think if I see either Freckle or Lorelei around, I think I would grab them and just kind of like shove a toolbox up at them and say, follow me, hand me tools.
Okay. Oh, you gave me a command. Thank you. Please. Thank you. This is very important. I say, this is important, like ship about to blow up important?
Well, it won't blow up. It's not going to go anywhere unless we get it fixed, and we need to rescue Solar. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, if you do it, they must show approval, gratitude, or admiration if I succeed in helping this. And if I don't do it, then I get insight, but I will do it this time. So, yeah, I'll say whatever you need, and I'll come along.
And so I kind of go off and kind of like tearing out access panels and kind of like making sure that the electrical systems are all kind of up and running. And I think that's kind of, I think maybe I kind of end up doing that in the cockpit as well. So there's all of us. I'm trying to engineer so all of us are kind of together, and I'm kind of like lying under one of the cockpit consoles. Tracer, presumably you're still flicking switches, and kind of like occasionally a hand comes up, and I shout out what tool I need and grab a tool from Freckle.
The hologoddess is still dancing, but slowly singing, "You Take My Breath Away."
Trace, while you were working at the panel, flicking things, analyzing things, Amor kind of comes in, and he says, now, with everything that's gone down on this ship, I expect you lot will be needing some help to get your friend back. I know some very helpful people that might be willing to see you out of this.
That could come in handy, but I don't know if your friends work for free, but as you might be able to guess, we're a little cash strapped at the minute.
Oh, well, my friends sometimes do. Myself, however, I usually like payment for my introductions. I understand you have that little hard drive there and the information on it. That could be very valuable to the right sort of buyer if you were to hand that over to me.
I've already got a buyer lined up for some of the information. A friend of mine. But the rest of it, Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I know a resistance leader over in Libre Franklin that might be willing to hook you up with the help you need. Name of Araminta.
And I think at that point, Kay kind of tries to sit up in surprise, forgets that she's under a console, and just kind of you just hear this thud and kind of Kay kind of swearing in the background.
How does Trace?
I think there is a I think there is a moment of like a double take. There probably wouldn't have been so much if they hadn't just learnt that Araminta hadn't ended up where she was supposed to be, sort of thing. But because that's sort of already on his mind, I think this is. I used to know somebody by that name. Seems unlikely it's her, but well, regardless, any help we can find will be useful. Those knockoffs weren't a patch on the real thing, but they still packed a punch.
And I mean, I feel like I have to with how Kay responded. Are you staggering here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. 0 to 3. I don't think lashing out makes sense. I think I'm going to mark 2 conditions. I think I'm going to be guilty because I'm still keeping the secret, and I'm feeling like maybe that's going to lead my friends into danger here, and I think I think insecure makes the most sense. Yeah, I'm insecure.
So do we see like Kay storm off, or are you just like get angrily working there under the panel?
I think that you see Kay carries on working, but like it's clear that she's a bit flustered, and you kind of maybe she even gives herself a small shock and kind of like just kind of like mutters and kind of about not paying attention, and or maybe kind of also asks for the wrong tool and has to kind of give it back and ask for another one. So like, yeah, it's clear that Kay is a bit flustered here.
Would Trace do anything about that?
Yeah, no, I was going to say I was thinking of once Amor has headed off to whatever he's doing next, Trace is going to hold out a hand to Kay and say, "You okay there, kid? You look like you clocked your head pretty hard against the console there."
I kind of just say, yeah, I'm fine, and kind of rub my head a little, and kind of I just don't offer any explanation of why I jumped when Araminta's name got mentioned. I just kind of like, yeah, just leave that.
I don't know what skin you've got in this game. what you're doing out here, jetting around with the likes of us. But I lost a friend years ago. Now, I'd hoped I might be able to save her, but I never could. It's hard. Sometimes I don't like to think of it as giving up, but you've got to learn where you can help and where you can't. And even if we can't help everyone that needs it, we can at least try and do what we can. We're going to do that for Sola. We'll do it again. So you've got to be realistic, but try not to lose hope.
Yeah, give me an emotional support roll here, Trace.
Cool. Sure. I am also activating my the move I picked up at the beginning of the session. I've seen things you wouldn't believe, which is when you roll emotional support, you may share a story of something you've seen or done that you think will help. So I'll ask before I make the roll, do you think, does hearing about my past help you?
Yeah, I think it does. I think the way it helps me is it reminds me that, like, we've all got pasts that we haven't, like, necessarily been kind of open with, and it's like it's maybe not okay, but like that's kind of like what it's like out here, and I kind of feel kind of some more camaraderie with you, and kind of like we both have secrets in our past.
Cool. So yeah, I will make that roll. I'm going to roll it with spirit because my spirit is much better. And so because my thing helped you, I clear a condition even if I roll a miss, though I have rolled a 7. So yeah, you can clear a condition, mark XP, gain +1 forward, or gain insight from the GM if you open up to me.
I know it doesn't seem likely with how I reacted and having just hit my head. I'm going to say I noticed that you reacted to the name Araminta, and I think I just say kind of, did you... Is this... I think I connect your story with kind of your reaction to Araminta, and I just say, is this Araminta you're talking about?
It might be. It was an Araminta.
Yeah.
Pretty common name.
I think that I just kind of like fade off and almost say, yeah, I knew an Araminta too. And I almost feel like the scene ends there.
Awesome, and I think that that's where we will leave things for this session. Thanks, everyone. I had a bunch of fun. We'll be coming back to see what's been happening to Sola. See you then.